You know, there's a problem in manufacturing that quietly costs companies millions, sometimes tens of millions of dollars every single year. And the crazy part is, it almost always happens in the dead of night when no one's really watching. So today, we're going to dive into how a brand new vision system from noeud.ai is finally shining a light into that darkness.
All right, let me ask you something. Just picture this. It's 3 a.m., the factory's quiet, and your most important, most critical machine, the one you absolutely cannot afford to have go down, suddenly just stops. What happens next?
Well, here's the real issue. The night shift operator, well, they might not have the deep expertise to know what all those little warnings meant right before it failed. So by the time your top engineers get in the morning ready to solve the mystery, the screen has moved on. That one critical error code, the one clue that could have told you exactly what happened, poof, it's just gone.
And that right there, that brings us to the heart of the problem. It's a concept that noeud.ai calls the 3 a.m. blind spot. And honestly, it's this huge hidden drain on modern manufacturing, and it is incredibly expensive.
So what is the blind spot? Well, it's all that crucial information that's flashing across your machine screens. You know, the HMIs, the control panels, every single second of every day. I mean, we are talking about thousands upon thousands of signals, alarms, and data points that almost never get captured, let alone analyzed. They're just lost to time.
And this is where it really hits the bottom line. The issue isn't a lack of information. Oh no, the machine was practically screaming that something was wrong. The problem is that no one was there to see it, or maybe the person who did see it just didn't grasp what it meant. It's a fundamental breakdown of observation. So if the problem is a lack of observation, well, the solution is pretty obvious, right? You get a better observer, one that's completely undistracted.
And the premise behind this noeud.ai system is just beautifully simple. You basically just mount a camera in front of any screen on any machine and it just watches 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Seriously, think of it like your most dedicated operator, the one who never needs a coffee break, never gets distracted by their phone, and never, ever blinks.
Now, you might be thinking, don't we already have monitoring systems for this? And yes, but this approach is totally different from traditional methods. Things like SCADA systems, they require you to do this deep, complex, and often risky digital integration with the machine's actual controls. This vision system, though, it's completely external. It just looks at the screen like a person would, and that means there is zero risk of messing with the machine's operation. And that right there is a game changer. But okay, simply watching a screen isn't enough, right? A security camera could do that. The real magic, the real power is in how the system actually understands what it's seeing, and that intelligence is built in these really cool layers. It all works in 3 distinct layers. First up, you've got screen reading. This is where it uses OCR to pull every piece of text, every number, every single code off that screen. Second, pattern recognition. Here, it learns what's normal for that machine day in and day out, so it can immediately flag any little deviation. And third, and this is the secret sauce, is the knowledge graph. This is where it cross-references that weird thing it just saw with the machine's own technical manuals. So it doesn't just see an error code, it understands what that error code means and what you should probably do about it. So how do you actually use this? Well, you've got a few options. You could put fixed cameras on your most critical machines for that 24/7 never blinking coverage. Or you could use a mobile app for on-demand capture across your entire fleet of machines. But really, the best strategy, the one that gives you the maximum ROI, is the hybrid model. It combines both to give you total coverage at a totally optimized cost, focusing that intense monitoring right where it matters most. Okay, so all of this theory sounds great, but what does it actually look like in the real world? Does it really save money? Let's take a look at a couple of real stories.
Our first story comes from a super busy CNC machine shop. You know the kind of place. Unplanned downtime isn't just an inconvenience, it's an absolute killer for profits. So, in just one single incident, the system helped this shop avoid a catastrophic failure and save them an estimated $45,000. So how did it happen? Well, the system noticed a few little servo warnings popping up now and then. By themselves, not a huge deal, easy to ignore. But here's the thing. It cross-referenced its own memory and realized this exact same pattern had happened right before a major failure on a different machine 6 months ago. It flagged it, they did some preventative maintenance, and boom, disaster averted. This wasn't just about saving a buck. It was about turning that hard-won institutional knowledge into a permanent, active asset that's always on watch. Okay, so that was heavy machinery. But to see how versatile this is, let's look at our next example. This one's from electronics manufacturing, where, quality control is absolutely everything.
In this case, the system saved them $12,000, but not by preventing downtime. It saved it by preventing a whole bunch of scrap product from ever being made.
So what happened here was the system noticed that a component's placement accuracy was slowly, almost imperceptibly drifting towards its tolerance limit. Now, it was still technically in spec, but the trend was obvious to the AI. So it flagged it, checked the manual, and suggested they inspect a nozzle. And they did. Turns out it was getting clogged, which prevented an entire batch of bad circuit boards from being produced.
So what's the big takeaway from all this? When you put it all together, what are we really talking about here? It's something pretty fundamental. We're talking about the end of missed signals.
And when you compare this new approach to the old way of doing things, the difference is it's night and day. That complex, risky integration is replaced by simple, safe observation. Being blind to your older equipment is replaced by universal compatibility. It's truly a fundamental shift in how we think about machine monitoring.
So let's just hammer home these key advantages because they really do represent a whole new way of thinking. First, you get zero integration, which means zero risk to your operations. Second, it works on any machine. I don't care if it's brand new or if it was built in 1998. Third, that hybrid model gives you complete coverage at an optimized cost. And maybe the most powerful part of all, you gain a continuous, searchable memory of everything your machines have ever tried to tell you.
And this whole thing goes way beyond just the factory floor. With the mobile app, a technician halfway across the world can pull up a live feed from any machine, get intelligent alerts, and access that entire diagnostic knowledge graph from anywhere. It's not an exaggeration to say it's like having the entire plant right there in your pocket.
So at the end of the day, we're left with this really powerful idea. Your machines are constantly talking. They're telling you what's happening, telling you what they need, and telling you what's about to go wrong. The question is no longer whether they're saying something important. The real question is anyone or anything listening?